Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So, it's happening again. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised at this point, but I kind of was because it was all quiet on the Western Front for a long time. And then also, not all of a sudden. Just, hey, look, leaks coming out right now. I believe Bloomburrow spoiler season, I think, starts on July 9th. I'm not completely sure on that. Let me know in the comments below if you know the exact date on that. But we were getting so close to not getting a leak out until the actual set came out. And yet here we are. Now, I will remind you again, these images that I'm going to be showing you are not officially confirmed to be real yet. So keep all that in mind. That being said, like every single one of the leaks from the last spoiler season, yeah, we're basically confirmed to be real, except for like Colossal Eldrazi, which was a joke card regardless. Anyways, let's jump into them. And another reminder, the image I'm showing you right now is a custom version of the card because, well, the potato quality images, which I will be showing at the end of the episode, are very potato quality. Looks like they were put through, like, you know, a boiler, microwave, all the things, air fryer. Like, every single thing that you could put it through, they put it through. And, yeah, you can still read it, but barely, so it's ugly to look at. Those are at the end of the episode. Much more friendly look at is this. Parting Gust, an instant for white. Gift a tapped fish. That's right, apparently we're gifting fish now, and other things potentially as well. It says you may promise an opponent a gift as you cast this spell. Oh, that's so nice. If you do, they create a tapped 1/1 blue fish creature token before its other effects. So nice. So yeah, you give them a fish. Congratulations, you have a fish. It's a 1/1 tapped creature. Exile target non-token creature. If the gift wasn't promised, return that creature to the battlefield under zone's control with a +1 counter on it beginning of the next end step. Interesting. So essentially, I mean, I guess it's another version. Everything's a version of Kicker, right? Technically, right? Essentially, everything's a version of Kicker. This is yet another version of Kicker, but it's kind of along the lines of like Demonstrate-ish, where you're actually giving your opponent something. In order to actually get like an extra benefit out of this potentially, you give an opponent something in return. In this case, it's a fish. I'm assuming there's going to be other, probably larger things that you are gifting people, not just 1/1 fish. But yeah, this is probably the lowest amount of gift you can give someone. I mean, maybe you give them like a food token or something like that, which can be debatable on if that's better than a 1/1 or not in Commander. That being said, this obviously is a card where it can just be like a 2-mana get rid of a non-token creature permanently, give them a 1/1 fish in return, essentially, is what this is. So it's like a removal spell in that way. Obviously, like with like Swords of Plowshares, yeah, Path to Exile, at 1 mana, better than this. You're gifting less than the other things, pretty much. I mean, a land and also like life potentially. Like the life one could be debatable, but you're potentially gifting less, but for 1 more mana. That being said, this is more flexible in that, yeah, again, if you could just, it doesn't say like exile target non-token creature opponent controls. It does just say, hey, exile target non-token creature, which means that you could utilize it on your own. You're not going to gift an opponent a fish when you do that. And so instead, you are going to, again, blink a creature with a counter on it. So like a delayed, like, I can't remember what the one is. It's got the really cool art on it, but like, there's a lot of those kind of like blink and bring back with a counter on it type effects. So yeah, it's a great blink effect. Yeah, I mean, it's compared to like some of the other ones, which are typically either at 1 mana like a Cloud Shift, or there's a lot at 2 mana like Flicker type of effects, but those are, you know, 1 and a white typically. Yeah, I mean, this is just a nice, flexible removal slash, I mean, blink effect as well. Keep in mind that with that gifting, it does say promise an opponent. It's not like the opponent whose creature you're targeting. So, yeah, you are, I mean, like a generous gift, that kind of, you know, beast within effect does replace something that you destroyed for an opponent. This is like, no. I'm exiling whatever your non-token thing is. It is gone permanently. And that opponent over there, hey, you want to be buddies? Yeah, sure. Okay, you're getting a fish. So that player I destroyed something with, or exiled something, they get nothing. It's interesting. Again, it's like blink slash removal. It's a pretty cool card. I'm excited to see, again, if this ends up being real. And again, take everything I say in this episode with a grain of salt. if that gift mechanic ends up being real, that could be really cool. So, and I did hear actually that one of the commander decks might be a group hug type deck. So let me know in the comments below if you heard that as well. Next up, though, and perhaps more excitingly for some out there, Crackling Wit. Apparently this art has already been released. Actually, it's kind of like I was like looking up this card and then I typed in the name just on Google, and then the art came up for it. So apparently we knew the art was already here for it. So that could be another factor to like maybe these cards aren't real because like the art was there. But this happened before where we actually have had the art on certain things, and then a leaked image came out, and the people are like, well, it's not real. It can't be real. No way that's real. And then it ends up being real. So we shall see. Regardless, for starting loyalty, legendary planeswalker, Ral. 2 blue and a red. So again, Ral always is it. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a loyalty counter on Ral Crackling Wit. +1, you get a 1/1 blue and red otter creature token with prowess. That's really cool that otters are getting prowess in this set. So otters must be like the is it kind of faction, I would assume. -3, draw 3 cards, discard 2 cards. -10, draw 3 cards, you get an emblem with instant sorcery spells you cast have Storm. Ooh, that's spicy. Okay, here's the thing. Like, I don't know if it even needed that draw 3 cards on it. Like, that's already just a game-breaking, game-ending effect to get an emblem that says, hey, you're in source spells you cast have Storm. I guess it's nice to be like, if I just dumped my entire hand to get all those counters on Ral and then ulted and I've got nothing to cast, then sure, I guess, sure. But, yeah, there are certain instant sorcery spells that, like, if you just ult with this, you probably just cast something and win. So, yeah. Storm is a broken mechanic. They literally call it like the Storm scale, right? Like on mechanics, just like how broken is a mechanic on the Storm scale. And yeah, getting an emblem with every single one of your instant sorceries has Storm is gross and amazing. If this one is real, I can say some players being really excited about this one. Now, here's the thing kind of with Planeswalkers, it's very interesting, especially in Commander, is that, yeah, like, there's different types of decks that can utilize them. This one obviously can be like Spellslinger type deck is probably where it really lives. Like, I mean, Planeswalker decks, sure, absolutely could utilize it as well. If they have a lot of proliferate effects, you can take advantage of that too. It is interesting. I mean, that +1, getting out some creatures, maybe a creature token type strategy could utilize it. But yeah, more so I think, again, they have prowess. More so, Spellslinging is probably what's really going to use this, because you really want to make sure you can ult with this. Like, the +1, -3 are both nice, but, like, not all that impactful. You really want to be able to get this to that 10, ult it, and then all of a sudden, yeah, gross, disgusting things can happen. So with this one, I'm going to talk about some cards on a quick take to talk about what works well with this, what kinds of decks might want to consider it, some commanders that might want to consider it. So with all that said, again, take everything I say with a grain of salt, but if you're excited about this kind of a card, let's always some ways to utilize it. So, first up, let's just talk about some cards that can really just take advantage of having Storm, because again, like, once you emblem, my goodness, some crazy things are going to happen. Even just casting a simple 1-mana Opt, right? Scry 1, draw a card. Your Storm counts like at 10 or so or whatnot, like, oh my goodness, like a 1-mana draw. I mean, even if it's just 1-mana draw 3, like, that's Ancestral Recall. This would already be better than Ancestral Recall, right? Scry 1, draw 1. Scry 1, draw 1. Scry 1, draw 1. You know, a lot of card selection, a lot of card advantage, but of course your Storm count could be much, much higher. I mean, I can anticipate some decks that have this new Ral being like, okay, like, I will get it out, and then next turn, I will cast a spell to cast a spell to cast a spell to cast a spell, cast a spell, cast a spell. All of a sudden, ult right then and there, and then your Storm counts, what, at the very least at, I mean, I guess if you, on the turn you got it down, you +1 probably. 5 at least, 6 once you're casting it. So, yeah, you can do some pretty crazy things with that. I mean, of course, like, Ritual type effect, like Poetic Ritual, which is apparently $8, goodness gracious, instant for 1 and a red, add 3 red to your mana pool. There's a reason that Rituals do not have Storm. Giving them Storm is pretty disgusting and gross, because basically, again, you're paying 2 mana to give you 3 mana. Again, in that example where I said, like, you stormed 10, 30 mana then for 2. You could probably very easily win from that. So again, like, cards that, again, just give you an absurd amount of value for very, very cheap, but then once you give them Storm, just go exponential value. Yeah, that's pretty disgusting. I mean, another one is, like, Time Warp. Extra turn spells. Search for 5 mana, target player's deck texture. For this one, you're targeting yourself. I don't think I've ever seen someone target someone else with this. Be kind of funny, though, actually. But yeah, I don't think I've ever seen someone target someone else with this. That being said, yes, casting this, again, on a Storm count, again, you basically could just, I mean, again, once you get, like, that Storm turn, you're like, okay, cool, I got that -10, I got the emblem. Great, good for me. I'll cast an opt. Cool, I'll draw however many. Oh, cool, I drew into a ritual. I'll play my ritual. Okay, cool, then I'll play my time warp. Awesome, and I'll get 10 extra turns after this one. You're not going to lose with that. That is just game over. I win. Now, I'm only showing cards so far that are in Ral's colors. Obviously, it's not a commander, so it fits in whatever deck can have it, essentially, right? And that deck might have green. If it does, doubling season, obviously, is a very good thing with a lot of things. And if I don't mention on certain, commanders or episodes, people are like, why didn't you mention doubling season? It's like, well, if it works with counters, it just is good. Enchantment for 5 mana in green. Basically doubles up your tokens. Also basically doubles up on the amount of counters you put on permanents. So there you go. This is obviously very good. Planeswalkers can ult a lot of them right away. Does not ult Ral. It does not do that. It gets you very close, obviously. It gets you to 8, which, you're just one activation of Ral or one proliferate effect away from getting there. And the game probably being over once you can do that. Obviously, Planeswalker strategies, or my janky charge counter strategy, work well with Deep Ghost Gate. Enters the battlefield, doubling the number of counters number of each kind of counter on any number of target permanents. Yeah, being able to utilize this in a Planeswalker strategy can get Ral close, not quite there. If you +1 Ral first, then you double it, sure, you're there. And if you've got like the Chain Veil or whatever, then you can activate again. So those kind of things can work, obviously. But yeah, being able to actually get there very quickly can be very beneficial. When it comes to commanders that might want to consider this one, again, I think its real home is probably more so spell slinging type strategies, just as a bomb threat. Like, even if it's just kind of to get heat off of you, it can be a good way to do it. And also, if you do get a chance to activate that -10, yeah, it's probably game over. Like, Mizzix of the Magnus is a great one. 2/2 Goblin Wizard for 4 mana. Same mana value as Ral, apparently. Whenever you cast in sorcery spell with mana value greater than the number of experience counters you have, you get an experience counter. In sorcery spells you cast cost 1 cast for each experience counter you have. Basically, it reduces the cost of your instant sorceries down by a ton throughout the game. So yeah, you can cast your spells for essentially no generic mana and just their pips. So you are casting spell to spell to spell. Already a great like chain one spell to another. Ritual effects are crazy good with this. But then of course, you get Ral out and you can easily storm off on that turn, get an absurd amount of counters on Ral, and then all of a sudden, yeah, okay, ultimate, cast spend sorceries, and go as well. I'd say this is probably the most likely strategy that's going to use Ral to the fullest. You can also do, like, it is non-creature, right? It does say non-creature, I believe, again, getting those extra counters on it. So, like, Artifact Storm, like Joyra, could work as well. That being said, those strategies don't typically use as many instant sorceries, so the ritual effect, or not the ritual effects, the storm effect on them might not be as impactful as, say, on this one, where, again, you have a lot of those spells where you get a lot of value when you're casting them. You're casting some really big spells as well, doing some crazy things, and being able to have Storm on, like a dig through time is just gross. So that's just the card that came to my mind, but there's a lot of other gross cards too. Next up, Super Friends, of course. Ask a God of the Tree. 1/4 God with Vigilance for 3 mana in green. Tap add 1 mana color. All other creatures you control have Vigilance. Tap added 1 mana color. I've only ever seen one player play the front side of this, and this is, of course, Eddie. Blame Eddie in the comments below. Blame Eddie right now for these leaks, too. It wasn't Eddie's fault for the leaks. Anyways, moving on. The backside, though, is what most players are building around. If you have a Super Friends deck, it's most likely the backside of this. Prismatic Bridge, Wooburg. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards to the top of your library to reveal a creature or planeswalker card. Put that card in the battlefield and the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. You just being able to get free planeswalkers off the top of your library every single turn. That's quite nice. That being said, again, with it's kind of interesting because obviously, there's only so many planeswalkers out there, and yes, Ral is very, 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 very powerful, and yes, planeswalkers are non-creature spells too, so whenever you're casting, a lot of your things, you are getting a lot of additional value. Especially from Ral, because you're getting extra counters on it too. And the thing with this one is it's interesting because there are just some pure planeswalker Super Friends decks that have no creatures in them, so you're always just hitting a planeswalker off the top. So every single spell you cast in the deck is going to help Ral. The question is though, how many instant sorceries do you have, and are you going to be benefited a lot from giving them Storm? If the answer is a good amount and yes, then absolutely you can include Ral, especially since you already have those other kind of synergies in the deck as well, doubling season potentially, proliferate effects to get more and more and more counters on things more quickly, so you can actually ultimate Ral quite quickly. So it's interesting because, yeah, again, a spell seeker approach is going to have more cards that can really take advantage of it. Even just a simple cantrip, again, an opt, can be absurd when it has Storm. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to weigh with this, but yeah, it's quite interesting. Again, like I mentioned earlier in this episode, please take everything I've said on it with a grain of salt. These cards have not been officially confirmed. And again, right when I'm done talking right here, as long as I remember to actually edit this properly, I will include those grainy potato quality images that are taken in a microwave, apparently. But yeah, I'm not sure why exactly they're taken that way. But last time, like, you know, in Modern Horizons 3, people were like, that can't be real. That looks terrible. My gosh. I mean, especially like the Ulamog one. I remember that one looked just awful. Like, there's no way this can be real. And then it ended up being real. Like, every single thing ended up being real except for like Colossal Eldrazi Ball. So, I mean, I'm at this point under the assumption that these are real, like 99.99999% sure, but who knows? Who knows? I could be wrong. I've been wrong before in the past. So let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on these cards. Do you think they're real first? And secondly, yeah, are you excited about these brand new ones? Are you excited about gifting? Actually, I do think there's a lot of design room for that. Like, I think that'd be pretty cool. And it is interesting that, again, like, it's not benefiting potentially the player that you're hurting. Again, you're like, okay, I hurt you, and I make a buddy out of you. I gave you a fish. You're welcome. Yay! It's also pretty crazy that an emblem gives Storm, because Storm is gross and broken and amazing. So, yeah, we shall see if these end up being real. Let me know what your thoughts are on all this in the comments below. And, of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.